Well. Look at what we have here. If it ain't the Outlaw Posse and the Common Joes and Common Sal's in the know, even more so than all the media talking heads out there, are once again right. But it's just now taken this long for a lot of these national media outlets to catch on to the fact that you can recruit to Oklahoma. You've always been able to recruit to Oklahoma, but for some reason they had some kind of man crush on old Tebow, TBOW, the bitch out west, that being Linky Boy, old Lincoln Riley, who said, "Thou shalt not recruit to Oklahoma. You just can't recruit to Oklahoma. There's no wayeth that thou can't do it that, because I am a god of football, even though I've only been coaching for 5 freaking years." But it looks like you can recruit to Oklahoma. And once again, Brent Venables is recruiting that. Is Oklahoma is turning heads. Once again, let's talk about it. Come riding in once again. It's the Outlaw Posse. Now, in effect, and before we get to today's show, make sure you like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell. That's the big 4, and they're all free. Now, let's give our the 4 horsemen shout outs of the day. They go to Rich Castle, Sydney Long, Denizen, and Dale Sent are mounted up and saddled up and ready to go. They're going to help us with today's college football invasion. And if you want to get your badge and get deputized like those 4 guys and get a random 4 horseman shout out possibly on the next podcast and beyond, as well as possibly be the comment of the day, which is coming later in the show, it's just $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. That's only a half a bottle of water for the Outlaw. Also, if you want to give me some ideas for the show, or contact me, I can be reached on X, a.k.a. Twitter, at OCF Productions. Now, getting right to it here. We'll go ahead and bring this article up for y'all now. It says, Sooners have proven they can recruit the best teams in the land. This is coming from Storm and Norman on Fansided. But this is something that they should have been aware of for quite some time now. Is, like I said, I hate to toot our own horn or pat ourselves on the back, but toot, toot. The Outlaw Posse and the Common Joes and Common Sal's in the know on this channel have been calling this out for quite some time. The last 3 years, Brent Venables has been able to out-recruit the guy that said you could not recruit to Oklahoma, that being Tebow, TBOW, the bitch out west, Linky Boy, who thinks he's some kind of incarnate 5-year god. And a lot of the media ass slicks out there, they decided to go along with it and believe that narrative. And it seems like the last 3 years they've struck out each time. And in baseball, that means your ass is out. But let's get to this article here. There may be some questions surrounding Brent Venables and the ability of his Oklahoma football team to step right in and immediately compete at a high level with the best the Southeastern Conference has to offer. But in one area, however, there should be little question of the Sooners' readiness and ability to compete with the top teams in the SEC is not on the recruiting trail, because they've been competing. They've been in the top 10 every single year that Brent Venables has been here, even in the first year where he was completely gutted on his skill position players by that shady person that I'm going to try to quit talking about. To compete with the best teams in the SEC, you must keep the pipeline full and flowing with top talent, and beyond that, have the right assistant coaches to be able to develop those players so they can reach their full potential. This is something that Venables has shown that he can do at Clemson and is currently doing at Oklahoma, which goes back to what I was preaching all along and what all you guys out there have been telling them as well, and that is Brent Venables has already been at Oklahoma before. He knows the landscape. He went to Kansas State, so he knows this area of the country very well, from Kansas to Oklahoma to Texas down into Louisiana. So he's going to be able to recruit there. But he goes to Clemson and stays about 8 or 9 years and develops a lot of relationships on the East Coast in very fertile recruiting areas like North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, even Tennessee and Alabama. And he's brought that over here with what he already knew in this geographical area. So why wouldn't he be able to recruit and then some? But they'd be going into the state of California as well, which is something Oklahoma's always been able to do anyway. But for some reason, because, like I said, the incarnate self-proclaimed god of recruiting knowledge, Tebow, who hasn't really finished that well. I mean, I think they have maybe one top 15 class since he's been there, and maybe they might get a top 10 class this year finally. It says the evidence may not be strong enough yet at Oklahoma to produce the ultimate results in the field that everyone measures successful programs by, because Brent Venables only had 2 full seasons. And like I said, it's not normal 2 full seasons with the stuff that he had to endure coming in that no other first-year coach has ever had to do, not even the Nick Sabans and Bobby Bowdens of the world have ever had to come in and start learning the NIL and the transfer portal learning curve, which is something that's still basically new right now that a lot of people are still trying to get a gauge on. A lot of that's going to stop if they get a collective bargaining. We won't have to worry about it as much. But here's my favorite quote from this whole article. It said he's well on his way to building a new monster at OU, in reference to what legendary Sooner coach Barry Switzer used to say about Oklahoma football. Our job is to feed the monster that Bud Wilkinson created. And that's what he's doing. He's feeding the monster and then some, especially on recruiting. The belly is quite full these last 3 years. Oklahoma has always had a strong football reputation fueled by a successful history. And with Venables, they have a passionate and personable recruiter and supporting staff that's able to find and reel in outstanding prospects on both sides of the ball, something that's been missing at OU since the opening decade of the 2000s, which is true. Even Bob Stoops was having some small issues with the recruiting on the offensive and defensive lines there towards the end of his tenure. Oklahoma's last 2 recruiting classes were both top 10 classes on a national basis. The 2024 class that will be freshmen this fall contains 14 elite recruits rated 5-star and 4-stars, and is fairly evenly diffused between offense and defense. What is notable, however, is that 5 of the 8 are defensive linemen and edge rushers, including 5-star defensive lineman David Stone. What's notable about that is the strength in the SEC. To play in the SEC, defensive line and offensive line has got to be a priority. It also underscores Venables' fundamental belief that outstanding defense begins at the point of attack. Something that's pretty obvious, that should be obvious to a lot of coaches out there, but they just don't get it. They don't recruit to it. Like somebody else we know out there in Skittleshire land. The Sooners 2025 recruiting class currently ranks number 7 in 247 Sports, number 8 in Rivals. Rivals always fall behind. I don't know what the hell's wrong with Rivals. That's 3rd best in the SEC, only behind Alabama and Georgia. That's pretty elite, man. That's pretty damn elite for a guy that's only been coaching for 2 full seasons, a guy that's never been a head coach. He's pulling it. These are 2 teams, Alabama and Georgia, have won 8 national championships in the last 10 to 15 years. 8. So if he can recruit on that level, if you're patient with this guy, he's going to get y'all where y'all need to go. Much like OU's 2024 class under Venables, the 2025 is being constructed in much the same way, with fairly equal balance offensively and defensively, with half of the offensive recruits listed as offensive linemen and half as defensive line recruits. It's pretty clear the Sooners are utilizing the credibility gained by becoming a member of the SEC to expand and even further enhance their recruiting reach, and also to build strength and depth on the offensive and defensive lines. Yeah, the SEC brand does matter. That is true. And I'm an SEC guy, and I could go along with that pretty much. But I'm just going to say that, even before the SEC, Oklahoma was recruiting nationally and recruiting well. But because somebody come in there and was there 4 or 5 years, and suddenly they proclaimed it as an uninhabitable place that you can't go and recruit to Oklahoma for whatever reason, Basically, what the guy meant to say was he can't recruit to Oklahoma. Says Oklahoma appears to be in a good place in terms of getting the right people with the right stuff. Time will tell about the latter and more critical part of the process that truly separates the contenders from the pretenders. And that is the article from Storm and Norman. Y'all check it out. But like I said, it just goes back to what we were saying the last couple of years. People vastly undersold Brent Venables' ability to come in and recruit. I mean, I don't know why it went over their head, considering that he had been doing it at Clemson for quite some time and had already been out in the geographical areas of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas and Louisiana. So all he's got to do now is develop that talent and put the wins on the field. That's Captain Obvious. We all know that. There's a lot of coaches out there that are great recruiters, and they just can't do the X's and O's. And I think in the next 3 to 4 years, if you're patient with Brent Venables, let them make the transition. They're going to have a little tougher time than Texas because they're just getting started with this regime. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. Even if they come in this year and go 8-4, 9-3, or something like that, I would be satisfied with that if I was y'all, because this is their first full season. They'll probably be a better team this year than they were last year. You just won't be able to tell it by wins and losses. But I would say within 5 to 6 years within Brent Venables' tenure, he will be definitely beating Texas on the regular, which he's already doing. And he will be contending, at least in my opinion, for SEC championships and maybe possibly even national championships. If you're contending for the SEC championship, it goes without being said, especially with 12-team playoff. If you're in the top 3 in recruiting like he is with Alabama and Georgia, you're going to be in the playoffs on the regular. And now for the comment of the day. The comment of the day comes from J.D. Wilmoth, and he says, the county isn't the one that arrested Vickers. That's why they are not releasing anything. He was arrested by OU police, and you have to go through the Public Information Act, whatever the hell that means, to get information because it's a part of the university. But these are all misdemeanor charges, and they will be playing this season. But I think they will be suspended for a game or two. And that is the comment of the day. And that was in regards to the podcast I just done about Makari Vickers getting arrested on DUI and drug charges. And that's all I got to say about that. If you don't mind, there's a little heart down here. If you want to make a one-time donation to the program, just smash that heart, throw a few dollars in the coffers. Also, if you want to get your badge and get deputized like those 4 guys did earlier and possibly be the comment of the day like J.D. Wilmoth just was, all you got to do is hit that join button next to the subscribe button. It's not but $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water for the Outlaw. And there's always the big 4, which are all free. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Subscriptions are most important. They make this party larger, and they get this party crunk. And with that, I'm out of here. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.